Hi, Kate.
Hi. So I'm Kate Hansen, and I did my senior project on dialectical behavioral therapy and its effect on island school children. So a big part of dialectical behavior therapy is mindfulness. So I'm going to have you guys start with a mindfulness activity. All right, so I want everybody to close your eyes, and we're going to do a square breathing activity. So what you're going to do is you're going to breathe in for 4, hold it for 4, breathe out for 4, and then hold that for 4, and I'll count for you. All right, ready? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And normally we do that a couple times, but I kind of want to get rolling because we started a little late. Excuse me. Excuse me. All right, so many of you probably don't know what DBT is, and I'm going to go into that in a little bit, but I'm going to introduce why I want to do this project first. So I personally struggled with depression and anxiety, and DBT is one of the therapies they use to treat depression and anxiety and a whole slew of other disorders. Another thing I noticed was that there's a lot of depression and anxiety on the island, and I kind of wanted to do something to maybe combat it at an earlier age. So I came up with this project. All right, wait, that's good too. Thank you. All right, so DBT is Dialectical Behavioral Therapy, and it was created in the 1970s by Marcia L. Linehan. It was originally created to treat bipolar disorder and chronic suicidal ideation, and in the more recent years, it's kind of been shown to effectively treat depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, substance abuse, eating disorders, self-interest behavior, and suicidal ideation. So it kind of helps everything.
Tap the screen.
Perfect. So this guy, Dr. Alec Miller of the CBC of Westchester, very official, studied DBT in an outpatient scenario, and he found that it reduced psychiatric hospitalization, it increased treatment retention, and it reduced depression, anxiety, anger, suicidal ideation, and reduced interpersonal sensitivity. So he had the idea to bring it into a school setting, an elementary school setting, to see how it would go there. So he found out that it reduced behavioral problems. Students were less likely to be cut in class, less likely to get suspended, and less likely to be given detentions. So, DBT is broken down into 4 subsections: mindfulness, distress tolerance, interpersonal effectiveness, and emotional regulation, and I'll go into this again. So mindfulness, when I looked up a picture for mindfulness, there was like a lot of pictures of stacking rocks, so I guess if you really want to get mindful, that's something you can do. So it teaches you how to control your mind through being aware of one's surroundings and meditation. A lot of practices are yoga, meditation, like body scan activities, breathing activities, all sorts of stuff like that. So distress tolerance teaches coping skills to deal with a stressful situation in a healthy manner. Interpersonal effectiveness focuses on maintaining positive relationships with yourself and other people around you, and how to get what you want while still maintaining your values and self-respect. And emotional regulation, and that's like how I feel 90% of the time, so I found that picture and I was like, I have to put that on there. So this focuses on recognizing negative emotions and thoughts and how to turn them into something less destructive, more productive, and positive. So I have this video, it kind of just goes through everything that I said. I'm just going to show the first half.
Dialectical Behavioral Therapy, or DBT, was developed by Marcia Linehan for individuals that suffer with a wide range of problem behaviors, most notably self-interest behavior, suicide attempts or ideation, eating disorders, those that have undergone trauma or substance abuse. And the purpose behind DBT is to focus on building a balance between acceptance and change. So Marcia noticed that, you know, if you focus on change, the patients were saying, well, we're not being validated enough. You're not understanding what we're going through. And if they focus too much on acceptance, the patients were kind of saying, well, aren't you going to tell me how to fix it? So DBT focuses on a balance of acceptance and change, kind of that dance between validation and working towards developing new behaviors. So there's 5 core.
And then the rest is kind of just what I just explained. But, like you said, DBT focuses on combining the emotional half of your brain and the rational half of your brain, and kind of, like they say, walking the middle path is a big saying in DBT. So my project, the question I wanted to answer was, does DBT make a noticeable and tangible difference in the way that young people cope with stress and anxieties? So, Amy Lilbois, I talked about this with her, and she gave me an email of Allie Wiesner, who was the elementary school guidance counselor at Tisbury School. So I met up with her, and she kind of helped me develop the idea of having a curriculum with a few 3rd graders that she specifically selected, because she thought they would benefit the most from this little group. So I would have 5 or 6 30-minute sessions, and we do, at the beginning of each session, we do a little mindfulness activity, and then we learn like one skill of the day. So I was interested, I talked about this a little bit earlier, I struggled with depression and anxiety, and I was admitted into a treatment facility that specialized in DBT skills. And while I was there, I was kind of like absolutely shocked by how little people knew like about communicating effectively and taking care of themselves. And since then, I've kind of wanted to teach it to other people, to hopefully they wouldn't get to the point where I did. So my first class, I introduced myself, met the girls. I talked a little bit about DBT, which I call coping skills. So all the girls, there's 4 3rd graders, introduced themselves, their age, 3 things they like to do for fun, just so I could get to know them a little better. And then they also said one thing they're looking forward to for the day, just because I think that's a nice practice to have. Then on this mood meter that Allie gave me, each girl rated their mood. So it's pleasantness, so it's like not pleasant, more pleasant, high energy, low energy. And this is like where you want to be. So each girl rated their mood, and then I read them a guided meditation, and then each girl rated it again afterwards. And a lot of them moved a lot more towards the green, of like pleasant, low energy. So my second class, all the girls, well, the first class they walked in, they're all like, hi. And the second class they like came in running and was like, oh my gosh, hi, Kate. So I could tell it was going to be a lot more energetic. We started out, we didn't really do a mindfulness, it was more like an icebreaker just to get them more comfortable and get to know them better. So we played a little game of 2 truths and a lie, which is just fun all around. Then, after we finished that, I asked them what they were looking forward to for the day, and a lot of them said my class, which was like a nice little confidence booster. Then the skill we learned that day was accepts, and DBT is like famous, maybe not famous, but they're definitely known for having a lot of acronyms. So accepts in Wise Mind is, like I said, walking the middle path between your emotional half and your rational half of your brain. So what I did to teach this is I wrote out a little worksheet, gave each girl one, and they all filled out examples that they would personally do for each little subsection. So for activities, a lot of people wrote like walking their dog, contributing was helping others, so like going grocery shopping with your parents or helping around the house. Comparisons, we kind of skipped this one because I think that comparing yourself to people who are having a worse time is not exactly the best way to cheer yourself up. So we just kind of skipped that one. For emotions, they wrote down an emotion and they wrote the direct opposite of it. Pushing away is all about finding ways to get out of a bad situation, physically or mentally. For thoughts, each girl wrote a positive memory they had that they could think about in a tough time. In sensations, a lot of people said like a soft blanket or a good smelling candle, or one girl said the smell of fresh baked cookies, which was my favorite. I think that's such a good idea. So for the third class, we started out for our mindfulness coloring these mandalas, because they really like that, and it's a really meditative and mindful thing to do, to color like very deliberately. So while they were doing that, I went in and I went around and I checked on the girls and how they were doing, the highs and lows of their week, and if there were lows, what was one skill that you learned last week that they could have done to make it a little bit less of a low. And one thing they were looking forward to for the day, which a lot of people said in class, which again was really sweet. And the skill of the day was please, another acronym. Falls under the category of emotional regulation. So again, for each one, the girls went and wrote in a little example for each one, and they took their worksheets home. So physical activity, a lot of people wrote walking their dog. Illness treatment was like take the day off if you're sick, which third graders typically do anyway. For eating balanced meals, each girl wrote a healthy snack they could have. And the A is avoid mood-altering drugs, but I didn't really think that was prevalent with a bunch of third graders, so I just switched it to another activity. Then sleep balance, one thing you could do to help you sleep better, like drink a cup of tea or read, then exercise. So the fourth class, the mindfulness was the square breathing, which I did with you guys, but we just did it a few more times. And Allie suggested I do kind of a test-taking strategies week. So I made a little checklist. Oh, I have it right here. This isn't the exact one I made, but I made one kind of like this. I took some of those and I kind of like took some of my own. So I took the top 4 from that and I wrote it out in a little sheet so it was a little more personalized, and then I wrote some of the checklist ones on the bottom. And I also brought each girl a stress ball that I got from Amy's office. Thank you for that. Just because it's kind of like when you're nervous, it's kind of nice to move your hands around or something like that. So my last class was, we did coloring again for a mindfulness just because the girls loved it so much. That was their favorite one. And while they were doing that, I let them do that the whole time. We kind of went over all the skills because we didn't really have enough time to learn a new one. So we just went around in a circle and each girl gave an example for each of the please and accepts, and we talked about the test-taking strategies again. Then I thanked the girls for participating and being so awesome. So if I had more than a semester to continue this project, I think I would have a group of boys, maybe a group of girls, maybe a co-ed group, just to see how effective it was in each group. And yes, to answer my question, I did see a difference in the girls. It wasn't substantial, but I could definitely tell each girl was a little bit more confident in themselves and were a little bit more ready to take on their day. I would also do practice scenarios with the girls to make sure they really grasp the whole idea of this skill. And thank you for coming. Special thanks to Amy Lilovoff for being my in-house mentor and Allie Wiesner for being my out-of-house mentor. This is Malika, that's Lily, that's Freya, and that's Mackenzie. And those were my girls. So I will open it up to questions now. Try not to. Yes, Miss Cindy.
Did you get any feedback from teachers, so the before, how they were that day, then when they were with you, and then afterwards? Did anybody give you any kind of feedback as to what they may have saw, the changes, or?
They didn't. I didn't ask.
Okay.
Thinking back, that would have been a really smart thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I just
just
in the moment, I didn't even think
curious
about asking. It was really smart. Yes.
Did the girls say that they had used some of their skills?
Yeah,
Like,
they actually did. They would tell me the scenario that they used it in, and it was really nice to see that they actually were taking stuff out of the class all the time I was putting in.
Yeah, that's great.
So third graders.
Yeah.
Is that something that you chose, or do you think, or was that guidance at the Tisbury School?
Yes, it was guidance, and I wanted third or fourth graders, just because I like that age group, and I thought they're like the most spongy, they just absorb
Mhm.
information.
And these were specially selected
Yes,
girls, yeah.
by Mrs.
Mhm.
Wiesner, because
Mhm.
these were the 4 girls that she thought would benefit
Benefit.
most from it.
Mhm.
So yes.
Do you think it's something that you would be interested in applying to all grades, or are there specific grades that you think might benefit most from it, or should it be school-wide?
I definitely think everybody could benefit from it, but I think the younger that we start, the better, because that way they can like build upon their skills as they grow up. But I really think it's good to have elementary school kids before they get to high school and before they really need all those skills. But I think everybody could benefit from it.
Is there any national sort of movement that you know of that where schools are trying to incorporate this, or was this sort of a radically different idea here on the island? What do you?
Here on the island, the younger grades are sort of like, kind of, they're adding like mindfulness
And
practices.
yoga, I hear they're doing
Yeah,
some
yoga
yoga.
and
Yeah.
like breathing activities,
Right.
but not so much like DBT as a whole.
Mm.
But one of the guys who's Dr. Alec Miller of the CBC of Westchester
Mhm.
developed a whole curriculum, a 30 plan curriculum for all the schools in the Westchester.
Oh.
So it's being done.
Yeah. In that is that also third grade in his, or do you know?
It's just elementary, I
Oh,
didn't
okay,
specify.
interesting. Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
4th grade.
therefore. And are they bringing somebody special in to do that, or are they teaching training the teachers to lead these exercises? Yeah, that's
I
great.
can give you a copy of the presentation.
It's just
though.
interesting. Yeah.
From Amy.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes.
Which of the skills do you find most helpful for yourself?
Yeah, that's a good
The strategies that you offered?
Probably the accepts one, because it's kind of just a good way to, a bunch of different ways to distract yourself and kind of get out of your own head if you're having a tough time. I use that a lot.
What did you get most out of doing this? What did you gain in this experience?
I really like kids, so that was fun to hang out with them and just like, it was good to be around their like such positive energy, because senioritis is definitely a real thing, and I definitely didn't want to be doing any of my schoolwork, and wasn't really in a positive attitude for the second half of senior year, and just being around them, and they're just so positive and so happy really kind of rubbed off on me. I was always in a better mood after I left.
I think it's wonderful that you've taken a struggle in your life and turned it around and tried to help other kids. And you really, what a fabulous thing. You've really done a great job with it. Is this something, as you look back, that you would have done anything differently in your senior project? And then one other question, what are your plans after you graduate?
So first question, you might have to remind me of the second question, because I might forget it. First question, I would have probably organized it a little more. I did write a little lesson plan for each day, but I would have maybe scheduled my time a little better, because we did color for a while and then we'd not have time to do anything else. So I'd organize my time a little better. I'd probably try to do more classes, and I don't think making them longer was an option, but if they were longer, it would have been nice. And maybe done more, like Cindy said, ask teachers if they saw any differences or anything.
So your plans after graduation, and did this project affect what you want to do possibly down the road?
This is something I'm interested in. I'm not sure it's what I'd want to do for the rest of my life. I'm going to UVM to major in biochemistry, but this is definitely something I could see myself doing a little bit on the side.
Do you see this as something, Kate, that could be incorporated into a classroom model, or does it best work when kids are taken outside of the classroom?
I think it would definitely work in a classroom setting. We just did the 4 girls just because it's a really small office, and we wanted to have a small group, so I wasn't overwhelmed by
Model
like 30 kids at once. But I definitely think it'd work really well in a classroom setting, because at the treatment center I was at, there was like 20 kids, and it was a good size.